Welcome to one of America's most iconic, awe-inspiring, and controversial landmarks. This is Mount Rushmore. You've seen the four faces: George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, and Theodore Roosevelt. But what do they really represent? And what lies beneath the stone? Today, we uncover the full, unfiltered story of Mount Rushmore, its creation, its symbolism, and the deep tensions that surround it. In the early 1920s, a South Dakota state historian named Doane Robinson had a bold idea. He wanted to carve enormous sculptures into the granite cliffs of the Black Hills, to turn the area into a tourist destination. His original plan? Celebrate local legends, explorers like Lewis and Clark, native leaders like Red Cloud, and even Buffalo Bill. But Robinson needed a sculptor, and that's when he reached out to Gutzon Borglum. Borglum was not just any artist. He was known for his massive ambitions and for walking away from a Confederate monument project in Georgia. When he came to South Dakota, he had a much bigger vision. He didn't want regional heroes. He wanted national figures, presidents, symbols of America's rise as a global power. 4 presidents were chosen, each for a specific reason. George Washington, to represent the birth of the United States. He led the Revolutionary War and became the first president. Thomas Jefferson, for the growth of the nation, especially the Louisiana Purchase, which doubled U.S. territory. Abraham Lincoln, to symbolize unity and moral purpose. His leadership during the Civil War preserved the Union and led to the end of slavery. Theodore Roosevelt, for industrial power and international influence. Under his watch, the U.S. became a modern economic and military force. Borglum believed these 4 presidents captured the essence of America. He was telling a story of progress, from birth to expansion, from crisis to global leadership. But as we'll see, this story leaves out a lot. Construction began in 1927, on the granite face of what was then known to locals as Mount Rushmore. Over the next 14 years, more than 400 workers used jackhammers, dynamite, and chisels to sculpt the rock. The scale was massive. Each head stands 60 feet tall, with Washington's nose alone measuring over 21 feet. The process was dangerous, but surprisingly, no lives were lost during construction. Gutzon Borglum oversaw every detail, until his sudden death in 1941. His son, Lincoln Borglum, finished what he could, but due to budget and war, the project was declared complete that same year. Only the faces were finished, though the original plan included torsos and an elaborate hall of records. But Mount Rushmore stands on land with a deep and sacred history, a history that began long before the United States. To the Lakota Sioux, this area is called Paha Sapa, the Black Hills. It's a spiritual center, the heart of their world. In 1868, the U.S. government signed the Treaty of Fort Laramie, recognizing the Black Hills as part of the Great Sioux Reservation. It promised this land would belong to the Lakota forever. But in 1874, gold was discovered, and within a few years, the U.S. broke its treaty, seized the land, and drove the Lakota off. To carve the faces of U.S. presidents, figures of colonization, into this sacred land? To many Native people, it's not just disrespectful. It's a symbol of betrayal. Even the name Mount Rushmore tells a story of erasure. Before colonization, the mountain was known by many indigenous names, including the 6 Grandfathers, a reference to spiritual directions. In 1885, a New York lawyer named Charles E. Rushmore came to the area on a mining trip. Locals started calling the mountain after him, jokingly at first, but the name stuck. A sacred site was renamed for a man who had no ties to the land, just money and power. In response to Mount Rushmore, the Lakota people supported a monument of their own. In 1948, construction began on the Crazy Horse Memorial, just 17 miles away. It was the vision of Lakota elder Henry Standing Bear and sculptor Korczak Zielkowski. Crazy Horse, a legendary Lakota warrior who resisted U.S. expansion, was chosen to represent indigenous strength and sovereignty. Unlike Rushmore, the Crazy Horse Memorial is funded entirely by private donations, and it's still under construction. When finished, it will be the largest mountain carving in the world. It's a powerful statement. Native history is not gone. It's still being carved. Today, over 2 million people visit Mount Rushmore every year. They come to see the scale, the history, the craftsmanship. The National Park Service maintains the site, using advanced scanning tools to monitor cracks and preserve the stone. There's a museum, a visitor center, walking trails, and nighttime light shows. For many Americans, it's a symbol of national pride. But the controversies haven't gone away. In 1971, the American Indian movement occupied the monument in protest. More recently, during presidential visits, activists have called for the land to be returned.